This is episode 7 of building a DIY skate park. In the previous episode, I built a quarter pipe with pole coping, and in this video, we're going to be building a wall ride along with adding some pole coping to existing quarter pipe. Unlike my mini ramp coping where it's nice and straight, the coping that I did get for free from MLK Skate Park Renovation, it's a little bit curved in the last quarter pipe. I sort of was able to actually make a straight quarter pipe with pole coping. That's the first time I've ever done pole coping, even though the pole coping blocks had a little bit of a radius on them. So essentially what I'm getting at is that radius works against me when I have a flat wall. I want to add some pole coping on the quarter pipe that already exists in the ditch. So what I'm going to do is try to pull out some blocks and see if I can get it straight enough. Like if I can get it on there, even with a little bit of radius, I can kind of shimmy each one. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. Or I may have to hit them with the angle grinder and just have less pieces, but I can make them straight, I guess, essentially, because I can grind them and they'll be shorter and there'll be more knots. So I want to avoid that. I want to see if I can just line everything up and kind of shimmy it to a straight line. Moving pole coping blocks can be very, very scary. There's no rebar in there. They're very fragile. These are the straightest blocks I have. Over here is what a lot of the other blocks look like. They have a radius. So it's going to be hard to do a straight wall besides these. So these are the 4 best ones I have. I can maybe do a corner in the future, but for this quarter pipe, I want to just put it on our existing transition that's in the ditch. So I'm going to measure this. I actually have a measuring app on my phone. Is really, really handy. I went down to the ditch recently just to check up on it. It's still flooded, but just to see how wide it is. And I believe it was around 8 feet. So now I'm going to measure this one and just see if it lines up. See if I have enough pole coping, or if I'm going to have to cut some of these more radius pole coping blocks just to add on to it. So if I cut it enough, basically you can take out the radius. So I'm going to try to avoid that. Just get a quick measurement and see if this is enough pole coping. I think we're in luck. I don't think we're going to have to cut any blocks. I do have enough pole coping here just to go on top of the quarter pipe. It's going to be really nice because right now with that hard edge, it's hard to do some tricks. So I think the pole coping will just make it a little bit more fun. You can do more tricks and stuff like that. So now what I'm going to need to get is some rapid set, some mortar, that we can lay this pole coping down. Since I did it last time, I'm more confident that I can do it. It was really scary, so experience is the best teacher. All right, we're at the hardware store. First thing is first, we got to pick up some supplies. As always, that's the first thing. So you have the 60-pound Type S spec mortar and then the 90 pounds. Probably going to pick up the 90-pound. Normally, I'd get the smaller pounds because it's easier to move, but I just want to get one bag. So that's the first thing we're going to need. It's all we're going to need today. Just do the job that we need. Because it's going to flood probably in a couple of days, I'm just going to get one bag. So I'll make sure I use it all. I'd rather not have any extra that gets, basically hardened because of the flooding. So the main goal for today is actually just to fill the side of my quarter pipe from the last episode, because it is going to be flooding a lot. Hopefully not too much more, but the point that I'm bringing up is so that all this doesn't get washed out. You could just leave this here. Typically I wouldn't really mess with it, but because it floods so bad in here, I am just going to seal it out with the mortar that I got. And if we have enough time, I will be adding the pole coping, but I just figured it'd be good to bring the pole coping down here just because I'm coming down. Might as well, it's a haul, So I'm not sure if I'll get to the pole coping today. That will be nice. However, my main goal is just to add some mortar on the side of this quarter pipe so that when it does rain, it won't wash everything away. It's supposed to rain tomorrow afternoon. I probably should just wait, but I'm feeling antsy today. I'm a little ambitious, so I'm just gonna get it in there. Looks like I got 2 left-hand gloves. Whoops. I got my water right here. Got the mass supply that just broke. Wow, really? It's one of those days I feel like things are gonna work against me. And I got my concrete adhesive glue, which I think is really good when you're trying to stick things to existing concrete. I'll probably use that more so with the pole coping. I might use a little bit on here just so it will stick to these sides. But with that said, let's just mix it. I'm gonna break this bag open right here versus mixing and dumping it, since I don't have the mask, and just kind of shovel it into our little concrete bucket right here. Brought everything down here with my cruiser board. As you know, it's kind of a newer setup. It's nice for this kind of stuff when I'm moving concrete. So yeah, ideally you want to wear a mask when you're doing this, but since I don't have one, my hack around this is just going to be to open this up, kind of stay away from it as I add it into there. I'm not going to mix too much since we don't really need that much on here. The weather's looking a little iffy, so hopefully it doesn't rain on me while I'm doing this. Throw a little glue in there just because it'll help it stick. We don't want it too wet, but just enough, because if it's too wet, it's going to be harder to keep it on there since it is a vertical wall. So obviously if we were skating this, I would do this a little bit differently, but because this is more of like a blocker aesthetics type of thing, keep the rain from hitting it, and it'll just look better when the city does come down here. I'm gonna make sure to avoid filling this back area because that's where the water goes when it is flooding. I'm just gonna trowel it straight on there. Might need more than I thought. Again, this is not like meant to be skatable or anything. Just kind of filling that zone. So the second batch, I made it a little bit stiffer so it won't fall off as much as this stuff is. Might have to just use my regular metal float too. I think the float I'm using, magnesium float, might not be the best for this. Get some of that drier stuff right here so it sits on it. Yeah, like that. It's not gonna be perfect, that's for sure. Oh wow, that really just happened? Now we got a lot to fill over here. I think it's good I get this little bottom piece. I may leave this area open and then come back with some Quikrete because, I mean, I'm gonna try, but I just don't think I'll be able to fill that. I might have to just waste a lot of mortar, and I don't want to waste too much mortar. It's either I fill the other side or I save both of these for another day and I just do the pull coping. This is DIY, guys. Definitely no professional. Every time I build, there's a learning lesson, you know? So learning lesson with that one, which I should have used Quikrete, and I also should have used more rocks on the side filler so it'd be easier to cover. I'm gonna start kind of lower on this one. And I'm gonna use the metal trowel right away. Try to learn. Too many gaps. I can already tell it's not gonna be as good. Once I get up here, just too many gaps. I'm gonna try. Just gonna try. That's all you can do. Instead of trying to fill the whole wall right away, I'm gonna try to just fill some of these gaps so that the rocks have something to kind of marry onto. I'm just not covering it, I'm kind of filling it a little more. Better than the other side. It's not perfect. So if the wall was solid and it had something to trowel it onto, it'd be good, but because there's so many gaps, it's just falling out. That's all right, live and learn. Of course, I could just take this part out of the video, but I tried to show how I'm like by no means a professional. We're gonna come back to this portion of the build, fix this up later on, but since I still have like half a bag of mortar, I think I can get some of these pull blocks down. I might as well. So let's bring this bag of mortar over there. It's gonna be hard because it's so open. I probably won't do all the grout, meaning I'm not gonna go in between the blocks, but I'm just gonna stick them down. First thing is first, we just gotta kind of line them up roughly to where I want them, just to see where they're gonna go. And I'll explain once I get this pull coping done right now, since I'm doing it, why I'm doing pull coping on this versus leaving it like how it was. There's a reason for it. Not simply because I want pull coping. It's gonna actually make it skate better. Just like there, that's just enough. Oh, we lucked out. So now I'm just gonna lift these blocks and lean them against here. I'm just gonna get that base layer down right here. This stuff's pretty rough, thankfully, so I think we'll go down pretty easily. Well, now that I mixed it, I can explain why I'm doing pull coping. So right now, when you try to backtail or grind this thing, you can, but you can't really hold it. Like you can't hold a Smith grind, can't really hold a tail slide, and that's my fault. I built it too steep. It's one of my first like long quarter pipes I've ever done. So learning lesson, the new one that I built is much better. So I think the pull coping will just allow you to have more tricks are possible, and you can keep your line, keep your speed in here better. I tried to do a line recently where I was doing a blunt slide and I just couldn't really blunt slide it. So I think the pull coping will just open up a whole new bag of tricks. We need all of our concrete we can, no concrete wasted. Don't need that much on there, so I'm just gonna go as thin as I can. Keep these things, keep it moving, you know? Oh yeah, plenty. And it would be nice if there was more, but I'm gonna work with that. Again, this is just like setting it down. The idea is I can clean it up later. One thing I do want to get is everything at the same height. So we don't want any teeter-tottering. So what I learned right there is like I need to really really thin set of mortar, not a lot. I think that's pretty good, actually. I'm pretty surprised. Nice thin amount. Again, we're gonna fill it later. It's just about like getting it into place right now. It's not gonna be perfect. Pole blocks are pretty heavy, so, you know, they're gonna stay there once I grout everything in. It's looking pretty good. A little unlevel on this one, but not too worried about it. The moment of truth will be when I get this one down. Does it hang off the edge or not? We'll see. I'll have to like fix these little nooks that got taken out too, because this is used pole coping. It's definitely not perfect by any means. Rinse and repeat, baby. Just want it level enough. Telling moment. That little nook right there is gonna be kind of hard to deal with. Uh-oh. Feeling a couple sprinkles. So, might just have to set this and... Actually, I'm gonna put this on the other end real quick. It's a sketchy move, could be better just because it's kind of crusty. Middle of the sprinkle too. I feel like it's worth it. So, it's a risky move. Oh yeah, it's worth it. The sprinkling has temporarily stopped. Now, as you can see, some of our pole blocks are a little bit higher than others. That is kind of my problem right now, but I have this extra mortar right here. So I'm gonna shimmy some of them and like try to get them as level as possible, because that's my biggest problem right now. Like somewhere a little bit lower. It's a little bit of riding a wave. It's all good. I'm gonna try to get it as good as possible. I mean, it's not raining yet. It's kind of sprinkling on and off, so I may just kind of not be able to film it because I don't want my things to get wet, but I'll show you the final results. All right, so we definitely have some unnecessary backfill. I just didn't want to waste some of our mortar, so I used all of our mortar. And there's our other spots all tagged up right now. Like I was saying earlier, got a lot of tags in here. Now, like I was saying, this isn't really necessary, all this backfill. I just have the open bag of mortar. It's gonna probably rain in the next day or two, so it would have gone to waste either way. So I put it back here as filler. Now, I gotta go underneath and then fill these little seams with, I'll show you what I'm gonna use. I use the same stuff that I use on the pole coping that's over there. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do today. Kind of clean up my tools, kind of get out of here before it really starts raining, just in case. But it's set on there. That was the goal, just kind of sit it in there. Unfortunately, I didn't get those side pieces in there. I'm gonna have to come back quickly to fill that up, but that's the progress today. All right, just taking my morning bike ride to come check on the spot. It's been like 2 days. It did rain a lot, but check it out. Pole coping is in there. Everything is nice and sturdy. It's pretty much dried up behind there. There are some new tags, as you can see. There's actually quite a lot of tags now. So I think next thing I need to do is finish up this pole coping, finish up the grout, and then I'm gonna paint all of our obstacles, like this obstacle over here, the quarter pipe that I recently built, and my kicker. They both need to be painted because they haven't been painted. Also, I'm just curious how this held up. This kind of did help, like, keep everything in there. I mean, it's definitely not perfect, and I still want to fill it with like Quikrete, but just to get an idea, like it did its job, you know? It's adding some integrity to the side of it. And when it is draining, a lot of people have mentioned this, like, hey, you're blocking drainage, and this is like meant for people to not have flood their houses, etc., etc. That's why I left a gap behind here, so water can flow pretty good. Also, the other thing I should mention, now that we're not in like full-blown winter and it hasn't been raining back to back, like the other day it rained pretty hard, it was even hailing, but this is like all the flood we really have, and it's only been dry for the last 2 days. So the point that I'm getting at is, like, I think the flooding has sort of stopped now that we're getting into summertime. There's less buildup along all the other ditches, so it's not going to flood as much even when it does rain. So I think we got the worst of it. We got the worst part of the flooding at the spot over with for this year at least. So I'm excited to start building down here some more. Just wanted to check up on the spot, my morning ride. Everything's looking good. So yeah, someone obviously tagged up, but they're in there nice and sturdy. There's no moving them around. Next thing I got to do is fill these little cracks right here, like all these little joints. I'm gonna add underneath there, but just to show you some perspective of how it looks now, you know? Today is a very, very exciting. It's a great day. The city has come down since the last time I was here, and I was only here 2 days ago, so that means they were here yesterday. Thank God I wasn't here building. The point is, look at all the walls are painted. They freshly painted it. They painted our quarter pipe that we recently installed. They painted the kicker ramp. They even painted the pole coping that I'm not yet finished installing. Point is, we're in a good place. Not only do I not have to spend money painting it, but clearly, yet again, the city is okay with it so far. Like, they're not taking it down. This is where I kind of had some of our supplies that I was going to use. So this is our vinyl patcher. As you can see, this is kind of some leftover stuff. I want to get it out of here eventually, but I'm also planning to do a wall ride right here. That's going to come later on this video. It looks like the city actually kind of just threw some stuff around and they didn't actually take it, which is a good thing. Super, super good, exciting day. I'm just so happy that the city came down and painted everything. Not only did they paint everything, but they didn't take anything out. So now we're just gonna get straight into finishing the grout work on the pole coping. I'll clearly have to add some lacquer back onto our pole coping that they did paint over, but obviously I'm not mad about that at all. I'm so grateful that, you know, they painted over it and they didn't mess anything up. Luckily, this bag has been making it through the storms. This is our floor tile mortar, which is really good for setting the pole coping. This is the same stuff I used on my backyard ramp. So first thing is first is we got to mix them up. We got my water down here. One thing that I didn't bring, which I wish I did bring, was a cup to transfer the mortar into our little grout bag, but we're just gonna have to freestyle that. So that's our grout bag, which is good. I'm just gonna mix with this trowel right here. I didn't want to bring a shovel down, it's just more supplies, heavier in and out process. And because this stuff is so fine, I didn't really work about it. Got our gloves and our other little baby trowel for the pole coping. And of course, our sponge as well. Now there is one heavy piece in here. I can already feel it, so I'm gonna have to try to avoid that, using that, because obviously it's not gonna mix well. So this will be used as filler later down the road. Right now, we're not gonna use it at all. Because this stuff dries really quick, I'm gonna try to get everything ready before I start mixing in the water. Use this cinder block right here to hold the bag we're eventually going to want to dump everything into. You got to keep the bottom a little pinched too, so I think what I'll do is push it through, kind of use the cinder block to pinch the bottom so it doesn't fall out. Instead of using our concrete mixer, I'm just going to use the bucket. It'll be easier to get it into the grout bag. It also hardens pretty fast too, from what I remember, so I gotta work pretty quick once I get the water in there. Right, now we gotta transfer into here. All right. Yeah, that's much cleaner than the way I was doing it before. Splooging. It's getting a little hard down here. I hope there's no rocks in it. That's one concern. I wonder if I could push that rock out of the tip. It's definitely stopping the flow. It's the downfall of using used material. Dang it. Yeah, that thing is really stopping our flow. I'm gonna try to just take it up. I think I got it. I think I got it out. We'll see. Yeah, I think we're good. All right. Woohoo. All right. Time to bust out the sponge. I think I'm gonna take it out of this bag because the bag is just getting too clogged right now. The bag is starting to harden and it's just not working good for this part. So I think I'm just gonna trowel some of it on there, get it underneath, and then we'll come back with the sponge. It actually really makes the transition to the pole coping a little more smooth. That's the goal right here. Just kind of fill the void, fill the gap, essentially. The last job I did actually was way more messy than this, the last pole coping I installed. That's what we want right there. Yeah, so from here it's just really like kind of fine tuning. I mean, I could just leave it as it is, honestly, right now. But since I have the extra mortar in here, I'm just trying to use it where I can without really messing things up, which is definitely possible. I mean, things are looking pretty good, honestly. I don't know how much more. I might add a little more over here just because I have it. You don't always need to use it because you have it. You don't gotta be like me. All right, that's all we're gonna do today. A little after work session. Everything's on there. It'll be good for the rain. We'll see. If the rain doesn't come, I'm definitely gonna lacquer up and get a skate session. It's definitely a little bit bigger than I thought I really wanted it to be honest. Like some of the pull coping blocks do have a nice little knuckle on them, but even the quarter pipe over here, when you look at it, this pull coping over here is actually even bigger than this one. Obviously, this is a smaller transition, but all in all, I think it'll make the quarter pipe a lot more fun. In this next chapter of the video, I'm going to be building a Wallride. I'm going to be using forms from the quarter pipe I built in the last episode instead of making them from scratch. First thing I need to do is remove the deck space so the transition can go straight into the wall versus having any kind of extra space. I used the first form as a guide and traced the line onto our second form to make sure they're very consistent with each other. After cutting both transition forms, I made sure they were exact same shape. Then I traced a PVC pipe onto the first form. This will allow water to run behind our Wallride versus building up. I cut out the circle, then repeat the same step onto our second form. After the forms were cut, I made sure that the PVC pipe will fit underneath the Wallride, where our concrete will eventually sit on top of. Alright, it is the next day. I just picked up a 2x4. What I'm going to do is cut that 2x4 in half so we'll have something that's kind of like keeping our forms together since there's nothing I can really use there. And I don't want to put anything into the ground. I mean, I don't want to drill anything into the ground. And we're going to put our PVC pipe underneath. So we have our forms. Basically going to cut one 2x4, bring all of our supplies down. I tend to do this in like pieces versus going all at once because for me it's less overwhelming and I want to also skate today. So first things first, let's cut this 2x4. I want to make sure a 2x4 is cut exactly in the middle because it's going to be our support beams. After cutting the 2x4 in half, I started to put together all of our supplies to get it ready to bring down to the ditch and build our Wallride today. Because there's some other people in the ditch with me today who are making a really cool piece on the wall, most of this section is going to be a voiceover explaining what I'm exactly doing. First I have to decide where the Wallride is going and clear some space. Then I place the forms against the wall and started to assemble our form that we'll eventually be adding concrete into here shortly. This will make everything easier in the long run. I placed the PVC pipe under our forms and it fit perfectly as expected. Using our dried up concrete from previous jobs in the ditch, I started to fill our form. Ideally, you want to use rock and solid objects for filler. You can use foam as well, but you want to avoid adding paper or anything that will weaken the integrity of the concrete later down the road. Then I started to add dirt with our rock. This will help us save money on having to add more concrete, and we can save some energy by not having to mix as much concrete as well. Then I added a little water and stomping on our filler to make sure that there's no gaps, just making some nice filler that we can put concrete on top of. Alright, now we have to pick up some Quikrete to fill all of our forms with the concrete, but prices have gone up quite a bit. We're at like $4 right now for the 60-pound bags, and then $6 for the 90-pound bags, which is a lot more expensive than they were in the past. Concrete prices change sometimes, but it's one of those things. I might go in the back and see if they have any ripped bags. If not, I'll have to probably come back in here. I want to do like 5 bags, and it might not seem like a lot, but I am spending a lot on DIY, and I try to be budget friendly. So right now concrete prices are a little bit high, but I want to get at least 4 bags ideally, maybe 5. We'll see. I think I'm gonna get 4, and then maybe there'll be some crack bags in the back. And sometimes that's a way to get some free concrete, like in the back of hardware stores. They'll have some of the bags that are open, and they're just like a free for all. So we'll see. I'm gonna get 4 in here. See if there's any extra in the back. I ended up getting 5 bags of concrete in total. I want to clear all the space of debris and dust to make sure that the concrete has direct connection to the ground. This is where all that prep is now going to pay off, because now we just need to mix our concrete and fill the forms essentially. Now it's just rinse and repeat until we have enough concrete to use another 2x4 to basically screed across the transition forms. The sun started to really make things hot in the ditch today, so I tried to mix into the shade, and it's pretty clear I don't have enough concrete to finish this job. I started to run out of water as well, so I really underestimated how much supplies we need to get this whole wall ride done. Using a 2x4, I can see where the highs and the low part of the transition are, and it was pretty obvious we need more concrete on top of the transition. Well, since I'm running out of water, I figured I might as well pick up some concrete as well. So I'll have one extra bag, that way we can actually use all of our forms. What I mean by using all our forms, I'll show you in a little bit, but yeah, I'm gonna pick up one more bag of concrete and get some more water.
Right now it's so sunny and the spot might be drying up while I do this, but it's better, I feel like, just to kind of, you know, risk it, go get some more concrete, get some more water versus just letting it dry. So yeah, intermission.
I picked up more water and one more bag of concrete to try and finish the wall ride. Using my wood trowels, I started to refine the shape. This is the first trowel you want to use after using a 2x4 to screed. This will make sure all the concrete is in the right place and you can really shape it. Using a spray bottle helps slow the concrete curing process down, especially when it's really hot and sunny like it is today. It was clear I wasn't going to have enough concrete to fully fill our forms, but I wanted to try and make it either way. Then I moved on to our magnesium float, which brings a lot of smooth concrete to the surface while pushing the rock under it. The last trowel I used was the aluminum pole float to get that smooth finish that I regretted later because I ended up adding a whole nother skim coat. More on that shortly. My normal process after I'm building a spot in here is I take a little bike ride, come check up on it the next morning, and here we are. We're here, everything looks good. I actually could just leave this how it is. You can see the coloring starting to cure. I definitely need to give it another probably 2 days honestly before I would skate it, just to let it harden. But I think I'm gonna do one more skim coat over the whole thing. As you can see, I still don't have enough concrete to fill the whole forms. There's still left up here, a little space. Down here is pretty clear, and honestly, you could just leave it like this and it would be fine. It's one of those things where I already had used 7 bags total. Pretty surprising. Something I need to learn how to do is use more filler. And I tell myself this every time I'm building a spot here. I'm like, oh, I need to add more filler so I can use less concrete. That's the point. But I guess it will help keep some of the integrity. I think it should be fine without the rebar. Obviously, we'll see in the following months, years, possibly. Here's some of the pieces actually the homies did yesterday. And these guys are real artists. I mean, they're not messing around. This piece right here, all the color is so good in my opinion. And you know, one of the things I was talking with them about yesterday was hopefully inspires other people to come down here and actually put some work into their pieces versus just doing a random, you know, dick and balls type of thing. That's cool. I know kids got to start somewhere, but that's something we were talking about. It's just kind of inspiring people to, you know, just think twice and put a little more work into their work. So yeah, it's pretty cool meeting those guys yesterday. Hopefully they'll come down and actually do some more pieces. We talked about doing some on the ramps or above the ramps over here. Now that things are starting to really come together, I see there's flow. The idea is I'll be able to hit this, I'll hit that, and then those things. The next obstacle I do want to build in here is probably going to be a ledge or something more street orientated, because so far it's all transition. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to come check on it. As you can see, my rebar or my 2x4 is still here. Nobody really messed with it. Everything's looking good. So I'm gonna let that cure for one more day before I go over with the final coat. I would like to go over right now a little cemental or something, a feather finish over everything, just so I can get this top area really clean. And you could skate this just as it is, honestly. As you can see down here, it's totally fine. You could totally skate this. It is DIY. I don't expect to make it perfect. However, I just want to do a nice smooth finish up the top so it's not so kinked. Just kind of fill these forms area. So in that sense, I might as well go over the whole thing. that'll be the next chapter, next scene, probably the next day, because I got to get to work. We're back at the spot. Everything's looking good so far. Like, our bank is still here. Actually ended up being a whole week later because, you know, just got busy with work and other things. So today we're going to get that final coat on there. I still have my forms on there, so I'm going to keep the forms on there. I'm going to mix and just kind of throw the mud right over the top. When I say mud, I mean concrete, obviously. And yeah, this is ideal. Normally you want to do this all in one go, but like most people, you have limited time on the weekend. This is the weekend. This is a Sunday, the day I normally choose to build. As you can see, we're in the shade right here, right now where the sun is. And eventually this will be more in the sun. So I want to get all of our concrete down while it's still in the shade, just because it's a lot easier than when it's really hot out and the sun's hitting it, starts cracking faster. So yeah, we get straight to mixing. Show you the process. We're going to use a bonding concrete adhesive. We're going to go straight to the aluminum trowels, the final trowel, because there is no rock in this. Essentially, we're just doing a quick skim. Unlike last time, I'm actually going to use my gloves this time so that I don't get a big old splinter on my thumb. Don't be like me. Wear your gloves. It's hard when you're a one-man job versus like two-man, where you kind of dump the whole thing in there. I like to go piece by piece, like I was saying probably previously in the dub over section. So yeah, let's get straight to it. Got our little sponge in case I need it. Ooh, here, a weed whacker over here somewhere. Typically on Sundays the city isn't working, but I hear someone doing some weed whacking. And they do maintain this landscape up above me. Hopefully it's not an issue. Normally try to be homies with them, even if it is. So you really have to move it in there. Unlike Quikrete, where it kind of just seeps into everything because there's rock. No rock in here, which we don't want. All right, that should be enough to get our first initial skim coat on there. Probably have to mix a little more, but I am gonna dust some of this bottom area off. I'm actually going to add some of our bonding adhesive onto the concrete. I mixed it in, but might as well. We have it. Just gonna help bond everything together. Keep a little more liquid on it too. I'm not gonna be too particular about it right away. Kind of want to make sure I have enough. And I haven't done it on something this smooth before. I kind of wish I didn't make the surface so smooth. It'd be easier in the long run. But I'm gonna start from the bottom and work my way up versus trying to go from the top down. Alright, I'm gonna mix the rest of our bag. Alright, I think we only need one bag, which is nice. I'm gonna go to the top with this stuff and start kind of working that top area. Try to blend those transitions is the goal now. For the most part, that's our skim coat. Just gonna make sure we have no little air bubble areas where there's holes. But yeah, for the most part, it's looking good. Obviously, it's a little kinked at the top, but that's because we didn't do it all in one go. It's DIY. It's still gonna be really fun. And that's what's most important. Now that we got a nice skim coat on here, it's looking pretty good already. So I'm not gonna mess with it too much. I don't want to mess with the integrity. I might hit it a little bit with a sponge, just clean off some of those harsh edges on the wall and on the floor. But what I'm gonna do is actually use some of this leftover concrete and add it to the side of our quarter pipe over here. I'm not really looking to like flush the whole side or anything like that. I just figured it might help with some of the integrity. Make sure some of that filler, those rocks don't really move around or fall out in the flood. Obviously, I do want to leave some empty space because it allows water to move through it. So yeah, super excited. Just gonna let this one cure basically. Gonna throw some mud over here and then it's a win game. Next session, we'll be skating it. Add some lacquer and then be skating it. Try to avoid going onto the wall. Now I got that wall nice and clean. Trying to hit this underneath area. Some of the leftover stuff kind of drop down. I just clean off my shovel, my trowel, my sponge, make sure I can reuse that. got rid of the water that we're not going to need because I don't want to leave this down here. Gonna get all my supplies and come back and check on it tomorrow morning. So I just got back down to the spot. I'm gonna add some patching to fix these cracks before we skate it. But it looks like someone already took the bar down and skated it. They also brought a box down here. Look at this thing. It's actually wood on the side. Like, that's wood. They painted it blue. And yeah, there's also another obstacle down here I'm gonna show you. So it looks like skaters probably bought this. Like, probably some young skaters. I'm gonna guess because they added wood to the side versus like angle iron. It's a no bueno. Grinding wood is never fun on your skateboard. Like, I don't think they have any ill will, but look at this thing. Like, it's so low, double barreled PVC, like on wood. Lesson learned. If I was gonna do this again, I would use that Cementol for the final touch because it would be way stronger. This stuff, as you can see, it's still got some of these little cracks right there. They're not too bad. You could definitely skate it and just leave it, but I'm actually going to use this anchoring adhesive. And what I'm going to do is just use my old trowel because I can't use this anymore because at some point somebody put some Bondo or something on it. So I can't use it for concrete. So I'm just going to put some of this on there with my caulking gun. And then I'm going to use this to fill the cracks. This is called Pro Seca anchoring adhesive. You can use this to like really fix anything like a curb, pole coping, anything like that. I'm not going to use the nozzle that it comes with. It comes with this nice nozzle, but the thing is you lose some because it locks up in here, like the adhesive locks up in the nozzle. You can use it. Sometimes I'll use it towards the end, but because I know I'm not going to use all this for this cracks, I'm just going to use like, I'm basically just going to right into, I'm going to put it on a cinder block actually. And then I'll scrape it off this cinder block and then I'll scrape it onto where I want. Don't do this if you have a brand new trowel. This is a trash trowel. It would be trash otherwise, so that's why I am using it. You can just use a little scraper tool, ideally. Just gonna kind of freestyle it. Alright, it's already getting pretty hard. So that's why I didn't mix too much right away. There we go. Got our silica anchor and adhesive on here. The idea is just to avoid this cracking getting even worse and like falling apart. So it's kind of a preventative measure. Add some lacquer onto this because I haven't done it yet. As you can see, like some people have been skating it. There's some marks, which is all good. And what the heck? Yo, huh? Disposal syringe. That's a little sketchy. So this is just some clear lacquer. Pretty simple stuff. You get water-based or oil-based. It's pretty preferenced. Alright, so in this video we added the pole coping, we hit the side of this quarter pipe over here. As you can see, it actually looks pretty good now. And then we built this Wallride that's behind me. So today I'm gonna take some time to enjoy it, get some skating on. I'm sure this video is already so long. This series is gonna be a little more extended than the previous sort of episodes that I put out pretty frequently. Now it's gonna be like once a month at the most, because something else I'm concerned about is like I'm getting a lot of threats, a lot of comments about people like potentially reaching out to the city or just getting me in trouble for doing this. So it's at this point now where like there's so much good stuff, but I'm apprehensive to make these videos. So I'm trying to go slower at them so they're not as exposed. It's a fine balance because I want people to see them, but I almost don't want the wrong people to see them. And you know, it's the internet. You can't control who watches what. So anyways, I'm gonna clean up this whole area over here, get a little session, and just kind of end this video with a little skate session. Probably won't be too much, but maybe in the next video I'll do more skating here. Make sure you subscribe to see other videos when I do actually skate the spot. But yeah, let's get cleaned up and get a little skate session. I was like moving some things. A little lizard went into our PVC pipe that's behind the Wallride that we made. Also, I can kick the PVC pipe pretty easily, and I can tell it's going to move really easily. In this episode, I'm not going to show you of like kicking that out, removing the forms and building up to it. That'll probably be in the following episode. But just know the PVC pipe behind the Wallride to allow like water to flow when it does rain next winter. It's looking good.